All right, I guess we're doing this. Welcome to Still Against All Odds. And it's a very special show today because we've got our first guest, a guy I've looked up to for a long time. I've had the pleasure to work with, Chris Rose. You know him from NFL Network, John Boy Media, BattleBots, and on the soon to be reboot of American Gladiators. And now I get to interview him. So I'm going to try not to. Let's bring in our guest. In my opinion, he's the sports broadcasting equivalent of Deion Sanders, who coincidentally also worked with Deion Sanders. You can see him on NFL Network and Baseball Today on John Boy Media. In my opinion, he's the only Rose that belongs in the Baseball Hall of Fame. One of
Ah,
the best in the business, Chris Rose. Thanks for being here, pal.
that is too sweet. That is too sweet. It's inaccurate. Like I would say 98% of your introduction was inaccurate,
Oh,
but thank you very much.
okay.
Dion lost like four toes and could still run backward faster than me forward.
Yeah, but I feel like you were the prime time in that show. Really.
Mm.
I feel that you don't think? No?
No,
No.
pass, hard
No.
pass on that. People, the so yeah, I did Game Day Prime, but it was called Game Day Final when I first started it, and the four of us that were on it was Prime, Michael Irvin, Marshall Falk, and Chris Rose. So, you know, which of the four guys up there could never have been considered a top five in his profession ever?
Uh,
Hi,
I disagree.
how you
I'm going to
doing?
disagree. Well, here, let me set this up because for my first guess on Still Against All Odds, I wanted it to be
First guess.
someone first guest. I wanted it to be someone that not only am I a fan of that, but that has influenced my career, and I guess that I didn't have to go through their agent. So
Mhm.
I do appreciate this, and believe it, this does mean a lot to me that you're here.
Well, I mean,
I
if I had known I was going to be the first guest, I wouldn't have signed up. I got to be
oh
honest with you. I'm more of a like when you get down in the Rolodex sort of guy. Like we just had somebody cancel. Hey, Chris, do you mind coming in? Well, sure. When do you want to do this, Joel? Like 7 minutes. Is there any
yeah.
like usually I'm that guy, which is perfectly fine. So first one, I appreciate it. For people that don't know, yes, we worked together in the past, but we really truly bonded during our American Gladiator stint recently.
Yeah, we will get to that. We worked together on BattleBots, and we spent a month in. I don't. Can I even disclose this?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. But we were in the barracks, I guess, on American Gladiators, which I can't wait for. But no, really, for me, it was Stuart Scott, Craig Kilborn, and you. So who was your growing up? Was there a sports broadcaster or personality that was kind of someone you emulated or just kind of looked up to?
Sure. And I've had the pleasure of working with a few of them. Bob Costas is number one.
Mhm.
And I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, the first
He's a
time,
little more dry than you, Bob Costas.
yeah, but he's hilarious. When I was growing up in the 80s, he did everything and did everything so well. And his vocabulary is off the charts. He never stutters. I mean, you got to remember the guy is in his early 70s and he still can get it done. I know that people had their thought he had his shortcomings in the baseball world with play by play. I understand that. But when you've been at the top of your game as long as he has been, he's just incredible. He really is. And I remember the first time I met him in person, it was at MLB Network. And I had the opportunity to just kind of pull him aside and tell him how much I appreciated him paving the way for places like this to even exist.
Mhm.
And for him to say what he said to me, which I don't really need to share, but it was incredible. It really was incredible. I also grew up with Patrick and Olbermann on Sports Center and them doing things the way they did, making it fun, making it super entertaining. That's why I wanted to be an anchor. I mean, I was my first on air job, full time on air job, was in Reno, Nevada. And I got the opportunity to fly out to Bristol to join ESPN News, which was just starting up in 1996. And so I had an audition out there, and I'm sitting in Olbermann's chair. And for 20 minutes, we didn't do anything. So it would be the equivalent of somebody standing in the batter's box for 20 minutes and they've got a 10-minute workout to show how good they are at the major league level.
Wow.
And I,
Yeah.
I just sat in that chair. I was like, can we do this, please? Like I'm about to puke. Like,
Yeah.
go.
It's it's interesting. Like NFL, they have coaching trees, and in sports broadcasting, I feel like that's sort of, was it ESPN or Fox, or from just being a play-by-play guy with someone else. So it is kind of your trajectory kind of career is, it's interesting where broadcasters come. And for you, I think one of the most influential shows, we've talked about this, that doesn't exactly get the credit it deserves, but is Best Damn Sports Show,
Hmm.
which is something, a show that everyone tries to kind of use that format now, irreverent, but just athletes being fans. And I think, is that kind of where you developed your voice more, or that was already your style?
Yeah, I was really fortunate to join that program um, right as it started out because there was no blueprint. And our boss at the time, a guy named George Greenberg, who was an executive at Fox, he said, listen, do whatever you guys want to do and apologize afterward. And at the time, when we started in the summer of 2001, I really felt like the sports media landscape had become too serious. Everything was, all right, we have to take, and we were called the best damn sports show, period, because we weren't. That's exactly what we weren't. And for people that were critics of it, they were like, "Oh, well, it's not." And we were like, no shit. Like, we're making fun of ourselves by calling ourselves the best damn sports show, period. It wasn't for everybody, but it did allow guys who had played professional sports and were successful at it to have opinions outside of their little box. And I think that the thing that people enjoyed most was seeing the athletes as people. It really was the first show I felt like that allowed us to not care about the 3-2 slider or, making a great play on the football field. We would ask them sports questions, but we wanted to get to know them and find out who they were. And today, that's all it's about is personality and having opinions and talking about things that aren't in their specific area of expertise. Um, so I did feel like it paved the way, both good and bad, for kind of what we're seeing today. So either you're welcome or I apologize.
No, I think we should be thanking you, because it really is. That's kind of the model. And was just thinking about that ride, was there a moment that you look back on and you're like, I can't even believe I got to do this? Or
Oh yeah, there was a
yeah.
lot of stuff I can't believe we got to do, nor should we have done. There were times where we went off the rails, and there were times where you look back and you're like, I cannot believe it. But it was awesome. I got to wear one of those sumo suits,
Sure.
and Ronnie Lott decked me. I was trying to catch a football across the middle while waddling around, which I do regardless of wearing a sumo suit or not. And Ronnie Lott, one of the baddest MFers and enforcers in the history of the sport, took me out. Boom. I got to box against Layla Ali. I stood in full catcher's gear, and Torrey Hunter, who had decked numerous catchers throughout his 15 years as a big leaguer, laid me out, and I almost got concussed because my head almost hit the wall when I flew back. So this pudgy little kid that grew up in the east side of Cleveland that was a non-athlete got to live out the dream of being a part of a great, great team.
Yeah. I guess now, to move forward, I want to talk about some of the stuff you do now. What is your, I know how much you put into watching games. So for people that might not know, on Sundays, what is your watching experience like? Like, are you, put me in the room on Sundays at 1 o'clock Eastern, how you're watching games.
So at NFL Network, we're right across the street from SoFi, where the Rams and Chargers play. And I get in there about 9:45 in the morning because kick is a little bit after 10 o'clock Pacific time. And so I'm in there with my two buddies, a couple of producers, Drew and Maloney, and our researcher Tone. Um, and then there's a handful of other people. Usually Patrick Claybon, who does one of our shows, does a great job on the network, is usually in there. There's a couple other people that will kind of come in, but for the most part, it's like 100-seat theater, and there's maybe 8 of us in there the whole day.
Hmm.
It's a very small crew that work on the two shows, Game Day Highlights and Game Day Final, that I do on Sundays. And for the first 3 hours, we're very much watching just like you are wherever you absorb your NFL content. We are screaming at the TVs. We're yelling. We're swearing. We can't believe that coach called that timeout. We can't believe the quarterback overthrew that. We can't believe that penalty is called. All that sort of stuff. But we're also watching at the same time to kind of start thinking, okay, what are going to be the most interesting storylines at the end of the day? So think of it as there's a huge screen up there, and we break it up into a bunch of boxes. So on the left side, we have two enormous boxes that we can put any game in there at any time. And then every other game has its own little box off to the right side. So it's almost like our own red zone. If there's something interesting happening, if there's an injury, if there's a questionable call, anything that we want to hear about, we put it into the big screen and we'll listen to that broadcast. And so that's what we're doing throughout the day. And then once the early games are done, um, we really hone in on what our rundown is going to look like based on how the game's finished up. And then we just go to work, man.
I mean, that sounds amazing. I do hope there's good food there. That would be my hope for you. But
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I could actually probably take some Sundays off from eating and still be fine. Somehow I would physically make it.
yeah.
So, you and
Well,
I are kind of come from the same dad bod build.
oh yeah. Well, that I would pass out. I would need a nap at in between the 1 and 4 games. I actually thought about you the other night. Speaking of red zone, when the Falcons Commanders game was getting very tight and the Brewers loaded the bases against the Dodgers, I thought, oh my gosh, this is the Chris Rose special.
Yeah.
We have the red zone. That we should have the Rose zone.
Mm.
Have you
Eagles
pitched
colliding.
this yet?
Yeah, it's a real thought. I'm thankful that our oldest son Josh has returned home to live with us, and he works in this wild, wacky sports television world as well as an aspiring live sports director, and so he gets to watch a lot of games with me. So the other day, no joke, because there was the doubleheader and there were two baseball games that were also going on, I believe, on Monday night. Yeah, there were two.
Right. Yeah.
Um, that I had four screens working in my house at the same time. And, I had one on my phone, so it was like this size. And then I had one on Josh's computer, and I had one on my computer. And then we had our main TV working all. So, yeah, it was pretty crazy, but it was fun. I was like, I think my wife looked over at me. And could see the little twinkle in my eye. She's like, "Is this the happiest you've ever been?" I was like, "No, no, no, no.
Yeah.
My top 10 happy moments are with you and the boys."
This is why you can't plan a wedding, I feel, anytime in the fall. I don't know how Chris Rose goes to a wedding this time of year.
Well,
Impossible.
I mean, anything I do, I can't do on Sundays. So, I'm flying back last flight Saturday night if I'm anywhere.
Yeah. Let's quickly talk about baseball while we're here. Mariners and Dodgers heading home with 2-0 leads. If that's the World Series, we're recording this on a Wednesday. Is it a foregone conclusion? How can the Mariners, let's see, the Dodgers are what, 7-1 in the postseason? Are you giving them any chance?
The Mariners?
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh,
Because the problem has been, certainly in this Brewers series, is that pitching wise, it's hard to match up with the Dodgers. But I think the Mariners can, and it really depends, in my opinion, on the health of Brian Wu. We have yet to see him. He is on the ALCS roster. I'm a huge fan of his. I think he is so, so good. And in my opinion, the best starter on that Mariners staff. But because he had that pectoral injury that shut him down at the very last week of the regular season, and then he wasn't even on the ALDS roster against Detroit, we don't know what he's all about. So that would scare me a little bit if I'm a Seattle fan, because I just think that he is a total difference maker. But I do think that Seattle can. I would make the Dodgers the favorite if it ends up being those two teams. But I do believe that Seattle could hang with them.
yeah. I think it was interesting. I think they played the final week of the
They
season, but
did.
yeah, Mariners had clinched, I think, and you're right. They didn't have a full. full roster. So
Well, but the Dodgers weren't playing for anything there either. They were locked in as the 3 seed.
yeah, well, I think also Dave Roberts. It's weird when in October baseball it should be the players you're talking about, but it seems like, oh, well, will Dave Roberts overmanage? And I mean, how can you overmanage this incredible team where you
Well, in game one of the NLCS, I was not, I mean, I don't care who wins the game, but I was sitting here right after Snell threw his 103rd pitch in the eighth inning, and I tweeted out, I said, there's no way you can take him out. No. And sure enough, Dave did. And I had some pushback. Well, give Roki Sasaki a clean inning. He hasn't done this a lot, which all makes sense until you actually sat down and watched the game, because that was as good a starting pitching performance as I have ever seen in the playoffs. I can't remember one ball that was squared up. The one guy that he did give a hit up to in Durban, and it was kind of a soft contact that he ends up picking off. Like the one thing the Brewers really have an area of advantage over the Dodgers is on the bases. And what happens? Blake Snell's like, get off the bases. And I can't remember. I'm sure there have been other pitching performances which have been outstanding. Jack Morris going 10 innings for the Twins in 91, game seven. Roy Halladay with a no hitter in 2010 for the Phillies. There have been other moments. Okay. So I'm not saying there aren't. But in terms of domination and just dicing up a lineup, Blake Snell, that was
Yeah, it really was. Which brings me, I want to jump ahead. Speaking of a pirate, former Pirates that maybe one day we do see pitching in the postseason is Paul Skeens. As a small market fan of Cleveland, what would you say to Pirates fans? Like, what is the best case scenario? Because I highly doubt he's going to get a huge extension. They're probably not going to build around him. So, should they trade him? Do they just hope they make a wild card? What is the best? What should Pirate fans, be rooting for other than a new owner?
right. I mean, that's just not going to happen.
Livy Dunn could buy this team. No.
In which case you go from the owner everybody hates to the owner we all dig. That's
We,
awesome. Good for her.
I,
I got to interview her at the All-Star game with Paul on the red carpet, and I loved her. I thought she was great. Um, I mean, she was bursting through the screen. She just is. She handles things great. But
yeah,
that's not the
she's a
talk
true
credit
fan.
on.
She's sweating. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. What do I hope that every year the biggest game that Paul Skeens doesn't pitch in a Pirates uniform is opening day.
Or the All-Star game,
Now that's
right?
what I'm
Yeah.
worried about.
Yeah.
And I hope that with the rotation that they've got and in the division that they're in my opinion, that they go out and sign some credible hitters. I mean, the fact that they have gone 9 years without offering any free agent a multi-year deal is disgusting. That's
Disgusting.
horrible. It really is. And for baseball to come out and defend his actions, you can't. You can't say, well, every team's built a little bit. How in the hell do you go a decade without making a multi-year free agent deal to somebody? It's horrible. And you could see there were a little bit of cracks in the foundation with Skeens where he's like, yo, come on. Can you give us a chance here? Because the pitching staff is actually decent and I'm better than everybody. So let's go. Let's give it a chance. I would like to see the people outside of Pittsburgh talk about more than just Paul Skeens and, hey, that stadium's really nice.
Right. It wouldn't take a lot. I mean,
No, I don't think so.
it's just a veteran hitter. You're right. Well, I can dream. Let's switch over to NFL. I feel like this year there's a lot of storylines, a lot of parity, but the thing that I'm kind of locked in on is these quarterbacks that are having a resurgence. You know,
Hmm.
Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, Sam Darnold, and I mean, Baker already was having a resurgence. But what is, in your opinion, because you're watching games with former players, is it just having years of experience? Is it better coaches? Is it better run organizations? Why, how are these quarterbacks able to resurrect their career when they were kind of cast off?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you can look at each one individually. And I think that there are a few coaches who could probably go and renegotiate their deals right now, right? Kevin O'Connell is awesome. I mean, Sam Darnold looked like a different player last year until weeks, 18 and 19.
Yeah.
Then he kind of reverted back to form a little bit. But he's off to a great start with Seattle. I mean, he's really throwing the ball. He's always thrown the ball well. He's throwing it intelligently as well. And who else stopped by Minnesota for more than a cup of coffee last year? Daniel Jones, who said he was learning things in those meeting rooms that he just wasn't privy to in his 6 years with the New York Giants.
Hmm.
And now, I mean, are we fully on board with Daniel Jones? I don't think so, but he does look like a different player, and there's a lot of talent around him. I think that they're going to end up winning that division, hosting a playoff game, and could be a very high seed in the AFC. Baker, listen, he's near and dear to my heart. I'm not one of those Browns fans who's like, well, damn it, if we had just held on to Baker, look where we'd be. That's not it. There was a very different. I think part of it was. I don't think all of it was performance related at all in Cleveland. I think they felt like they could win a lot of games with him, but not necessarily a Super Bowl. Now that's a big miss because they ended up trading for Deshaun Watson, who cost them not only 230 million guaranteed dollars, but also a half dozen very high draft picks. And you can see what it does to your team if you don't have access to those draft picks. It's a disaster right now. But with Baker, I think if he were honest with you, he would say the stop in Carolina and then spending a few weeks with the Rams and getting booted out of Cleveland, all that sort of stuff helped formulate a little bit of who he is. And I'm happy for him. I love watching him play. Do I wish he was still a Cleveland Brown? Yeah, but it just wasn't. It wasn't as simple as, well, if they had just kept him. There's a lot more to the story that I think we don't know.
Yeah. No, including Odell's dad, I don't think helped. But
Well,
uh,
I will say this, and this part is out loud.
yeah,
When Odell's dad did that, how many players came to Baker's rescue? Do you remember one player saying, dude, that's effed up? Like, that's our quarterback. That's the guy we believe in. Now, you're hearing it left and right out of Tampa right now, but you did not hear it when he needed the support the most. And I'm not saying that this is all on Baker. All I'm saying is they picked Odell's dad over Baker. There were people did not come to his defense that played with him. That to me is a problem. Like, how many Miami Dolphins players do you think have Tua's back right now?
I didn't
Many?
think of this. This is true. No, you're right. It is a locker room kind of, yeah, you want someone that you're going to go to battle with. This is why I like working for you because
You don't work
you,
for me. We work
well,
together.
oh, all right. Well, we work together. Wait, while we're on Cleveland, I actually want to ask you about another quarterback. I think they're still playing this uh, Joe Flacco interdivision trade. I
Yeah.
am curious your opinion because I'm a Steelers fan. There's the
hmm
Bengals side. What is the Cleveland side? You didn't find
Well, I
this
can't
trade
answer for Cleveland. When Mike Tomlin came out and said what he said, where Andrew Berry must be smarter than I am, where he's taking a shot, obviously, at Cleveland, that's fine. I mean, the Browns don't deserve much love. They're 1-5 this year, and their record has been abysmal. Although I will point out that Cleveland has won a playoff game more recently than Mike Tomlin's Pittsburgh Steelers. Fine.
Baker Baker to thank for that? Yeah.
Well, and a defense that forced 6 turnovers, but that's
And
neither here
COVID,
nor
but
there.
all right. Well, I don't want to go down this.
Listen,
Okay.
Mike Tomlin is pissed off because he would rather face Jake Browning on Thursday than Joe Flacco, which I get. Like, I understand that. But can we get past the whole, well, why would they help out the Cincinnati Bengals? Because he probably was offered the best deal by the Cincinnati Bengals. The Browns aren't contending with the Bengals this year, and Joe Flacco certainly isn't going to be a part of the Bengals after this year. I think it's another Joe that will end up quarterbacking them next year. So who gives a damn? The Browns ended up flip-flopping a 5 and a 6. Maybe they move up 40 spots in the draft. Maybe that enables them to move up further in the draft for somebody that can help them somewhere down the road. It's Andrew Berry's job to look out in the best interest of the Browns. You can question whether or not he's done that, but I understand the idea. Who gives a crap if he's playing in Cincinnati? That doesn't matter.
I again, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Maybe Joe Flacco could have been a mentor to those two young quarterbacks, but this is my take on it. And I didn't even think about this until Mike Tomlin actually came out. I actually think the Browns were like, we don't want the Steelers winning this division, and they hate them
They
more
don't
than that.
care.
Yes. I
They don't care. Listen, man, they're trying to figure out if they can keep their jobs. Do you think Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Barry sit here at night and say, "Gosh, it would be great if we could keep the Steelers out of the playoffs instead of the Bengals"? Do you think that is the most fan reaction I have ever heard in my life? They do not care.
Bill Belichick, I think, did it to the Jets sometimes.
At wait, at whose expense? Are you saying that if the Patriots weren't going to make the playoffs, which never happened when they were on their run, right? It only happened when Tom Brady left town. That's when. Do you think he cared if it was the Bills or the Jets that would win the division? Really?
I, I think a lot of things went down there. I think there that could have been in play. I just think that the Cleveland Browns definitely don't want the Steelers winning this division. But we'll find out.
That's
Actually, it's Joe Flacco we're talking about, so I don't think it should matter too
Yeah,
much anyway.
I don't quite understand this. Yes, it's Joe Flacco who was picked off 6 times in his first 4 weeks. And will be forever appreciative of a guy getting off the couch and giving us some magical moments in 2023, but he's a 40-year-old quarterback. I mean,
Well, he
do you
might have
think
been
that the
the
Bengals are still a Super Bowl contender? I mean, I'm a little confused here. Do you think the Bengals are a Super Bowl contender right now?
not at all, but they're certainly better with Joe Flacco. And that team was, I think, like Mike Tomlin said, you had them dead to rights, and
But
now
that
you've
doesn't
given them
matter.
signs of life.
What? But who cares? Did the Browns got a decent draft pick out of the deal? Now
I don't want to, yeah.
you can make the argument that maybe Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders would benefit from having Joe Flacco around. That argument I'll listen to. But the why do we trade him to the Cincinnati Bengals who were done this year? The Browns, they've got way more problems than trying to figure out that sort of stuff.
All right, all right. I don't want to fight with you. I looked online. I could not find
We're
your
not going to
super.
fight
What?
because it's a
Oh,
ridiculous thought process.
I tried to go down a conspiracy corner with you.
Great.
It did
I
not work.
love those. Those are really, really fun.
Hey, I could not find your Super Bowl prediction online. I could not find it. I don't
Yeah,
know if
because
you
I
gave
didn't
one.
make it.
You,
I'm going to
you're
save it for February 5th.
all right. It is, but it's not the Bengals and it's not the Colts. And I don't.
I would have even before Micah Parsons joined them, Packers. That's who I picked last year, and I probably would have gone with the Bills. To be honest with you, I think that those are the two teams I probably would have gone with. Um, the Bills have some real shortcomings. They cannot stop the run for the life of them, and that is going to be a major, major problem when they get to January. They just better hope that and listen, the Patriots took it to them on that Sunday night in Buffalo that they end up winning the division and stockpiling about 13 wins in order to get that 1 seed in Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't. It is. I think there's a lot of panic buttons. But when you're watching games with when do the former players say like this is when the season you really need to start peaking and getting your stuff together? Like is it? I guess week 8? Is it
Well,
around?
they divided into quarters pretty much, which I know you can't
Mhm.
do with 17 anymore. When you played 16, it would fit nicely in your chart. But 17, so you're the last 4 to 5 weeks of the year is when you want to start crescendoing. But we've seen some teams that have struggled down the stretch and still ended up making the Super Bowl. So, you know,
Yeah.
you
All right.
here's the thing. More than playing well, you want to be healthy. You just want to be healthy. You can win on the road as long as you got some dogs with you. If you've got injuries, look out. See you
Yeah.
next year.
No, so many injuries this season. I do have one question. I wanted to introduce a new segment. This
Oh
is
God.
called Question from a Buddy. So I literally texted one of my buddies and I said, "What do you want to ask Chris Rose?" And I'm going to do this. I'm going to try. This might. So Matt Goldich, my
Is it
buddy,
just 3 letters? Is it WHO?
what the segment name? No,
No,
this is.
was that his question?
Oh no, his question is from Matt Goldich, my buddy. Have you ever met Vern Lundquist? And
Oh, I
I
got a
don't.
great one for you on that.
Okay. That's his
I have
question.
never met Vern Lundquist, who is
You've ne
another guy that I obviously idolize. And his voice, spectacular on college football Saturdays, on NFL Sundays when he did them, and on golf, where I really loved him. I thought he was sensational doing golf. Um, my parents, when they were alive, used to go on trips every year. I think it was probably because they hated their kids. And one thing they loved to do was go on cruises. And they come back, didn't have cell phones. But this is probably, right around late 90s, early 2000s. I'm guessing, early 2000s. And they go, "You won't believe who we met. Vern Lundquist." I was like, "Wow, that is awesome." He goes, "He's a big fan of yours." I was like, "Now stop, you stop right now. Because Dad, you can't do that to me." He said, "I told him who I was, and he said in that big booming voice that kid's going to have a really good career. Like, I appreciate what he does. I see what he is doing, and you just tell him that he's got a fan." And I was like, "Oh, stop."
I mean, see, that was a good question, Matt
It was
Goldrich.
a
Thanks.
great, Matt, great question. Great question. You nailed it.
Well, listen, there are few people more genuine in the business than you. I appreciate that. This wasn't that awkward, was it? Was it terribly awkward?
No, I mean, you made it somewhat awkward, but that's perfectly fine. It's really more of your wardrobe choice, although you do win with the Expos hat. Is that a Marquise Grissom special?
It is, yeah, Marquise Grissom, Delino DeShields, Larry Walker.
Well, Delino DeShields was great because he always wore the double ear flap and looked like he had just been the little leaguer that got promoted the next age group up. Uh,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, this is why I used to when we were taping American Gladiators, I just going toe to toe with you, remembering lineups and you, incredible memory. I can't beat you, but I
well, how
try.
many of those
I try.
Expos from '94? They've got that special coming out any day that I'm going to be watching.
Well, I think you'd have me beat. Well, I
No.
would after about Moises Alou, Pedro, I'd start running out of. Oh, yeah, I'd start. I don't. We can't do this now. We'll do it off the
Why?
air.
Larry Walker,
I'm running out
Jeff
of names. You
Passero, Mike
oh,
Lansing.
Zane Smith, maybe I could
No,
do.
I don't think
No.
he was on that team.
Uh, you can see Chris Rose on Baseball Today on John Boy Media and of course on NFL Network. Follow him at Chris Rose and at Chris Rose Sports on X. Buddy, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, dude. This was fun. We'll
Uh-oh,
do it again
he's frozen.
sometime when I'll be
Oh.
your millionth guest.
All right, my thanks again to Chris Rose. Hopefully, one day he invites me to watch games with him on Sundays. I doubt it, but maybe. Who knows? I don't know. This has been Still Against All Odds from Mikey Meatballs. I'm Babyface Joel Solomon, reminding you no matter your parlay, always bet on yourself.